All right, well, let's move on now to another hot take. Maybe this one came from aggrieved Spurs fans, but I'm not sure why Spurs fans will feel a bit bitter considering it's all been going so well under Ange. I love me some big Ange, but we're going to talk instead about Harry Kane. Could Harry Kane ever find himself in a situation where he regrets leaving Spurs, at least for this season, because the way Spurs are going and then the issues that we have seen at Bayern, Yanush, do you think that Bayern and Harry Kane could probably go trophyless at least this season?
Look, first of all, in life, I mean, I've learned you need to have zero regrets, and I hope everybody, right, and yeah, you look back at some situation and you'll say, oh, maybe I could have done that differently. I don't think that's the case here. It's one of the most storied clubs in the world, right? I mean, Spurs. I am a big fan of Ange, and even yesterday on the show, and I've been saying this over and over. We're giving him so much loving for very little at the moment. It's important. He's changed the perception of Spurs. Fans love him, and that's exactly what you need after you have maybe different characters like like Mourinho and Conte. Certainly, a little bit more smile on the faces of players, a more positive way of playing. The fans loving the way they play because it's entertaining, it's attacking, and that's, I think, ultimately what all teams want to see. But difficult times will come for Ange and for Spurs. We're so early in the season that I can't imagine why in the world Harry Kane would have any regrets. And again, this is Bayern Munich. I mean, look, if it's not this year, it's going to be next year. I think it's safe to say that in the next 4 or 5 years, Bayern Munich are going to win more trophies everywhere than Spurs. Even I wish Ange and Spurs all the best in the world, but I don't think he's going to have any regrets. And it's a different experience, and there's a lot to be said about that, because I don't know Harry Kane, we don't know Harry Kane. Maybe that part is just as important. New country, new language, different experiences for him, his wife, his kids, and that's just as important. And some will tell you, I've moved countries and continents. It's and you have as well, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes in life, that's even more important than the work that you do.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's talk about Declan Rice right now, because he's someone that we started talking about a bit. But here, at least, I live in London, and there's a lot being made of him and his fresh start, I suppose, at Arsenal right now. So could he reach the levels of Patrick Vieira? We know how Patrick Vieira was an absolute legend for Arsenal. I will never forget him and his feisty tunnel scraps with Roy Keane. Not sure we want Declan Rice to get to that level, but in terms of the technicality, the skill, the talent, and of course the trophies won, do you see Declan Rice being mentioned in the same breath as the big man?
Yeah, I think it's a tough comparison. I mean, first and foremost, they're different players, right? I mean, I think for him, he would have to develop the game on both sides of the ball, and I think that's going to be difficult. I don't think he needs to. I think he needs to become Declan Rice, the legend. Many clubs like Liverpool and Arsenal and Chelsea, they have a number of legends, right, that we don't compare to. We just consider them legends because of what they've done. So let him become, the Busquets of Arsenal, and that was, or Rodri of Manchester City, where I mean, at this moment, I think I've said it, and many have said it, that Rodri, for example, there's nobody like him in that position right now. So, I mean, if you wanted to compare him to Busquets, it would be unfair as well. I mean, he's doing what Busquets has done. They're a little bit different, but in so many ways, he's already accomplished what Busquets has, right? But I wouldn't compare it to him. So, look, Declan Rice is not going to be invincible, at least anytime soon. That's nothing against him or Arsenal. I think, this record these days, I mean, it's nearly impossible. And as I've said, Patrick Vieira being the captain, his presence alone, that's tough to ask anybody to be somebody else. So I think he may become a legend. I think his transition from West Ham to Arsenal, it has been exceptional. He's been excellent in every game. Every game that I've watched, there's nothing I could say that, and we often talk about players that change clubs. It needs time. It's a new system, new manager, new expectations, and all of that. And he just slid into Arsenal, into that midfield, and he's bossing it, and he's doing a great job. So but in general, even after everything I've said, I don't think so. And I hope this is like the last time that we try to compare two very much different players, personalities in many ways, because it's unfair.
Comparisons are the thief of joy. Remember that. Next one now. I know
I
we
will.
spoke about Barcelona a little bit, and we spoke about Manchester City. Basically, at the moment, you do have them as best team, not just in Europe but in the world. And I don't think you're going to find much argument there. But if we're talking about best team in Europe now, that's not Manchester City. So we'll take them out of the equation. Would you give it to Barcelona, considering they are the only team right now in La Liga that is unbeaten?
For those of you that didn't watch my ranking, the short answer to that is not. No, no, I wouldn't. I mean, I still think what Real
Yeah.
Madrid are doing is exceptional. As I said, I never. We've talked about Karim Benzema and who's going to replace him. Well, certainly none of us thought that was going to be Bellingham, because he's not a number 9. He plays differently. Carlo Ancelotti has changed the system a little bit for him, for the most part, because in some of the bad games, Carlo Ancelotti reverted from what was working. And I think he understands now that how to play best, right? Having Jude Bellingham, but I think Jude Bellingham made us forget about Karim Benzema just a little bit with Vinny Jr. coming back and things getting to normal. As I've said, and I think that the key is that Real Madrid for sure is, but they're still trying to figure out that midfield, the youth and the experience, right? We know Toni Kroos and Modric are kind of there to give the experience to the likes of Tchouaméni and Camavinga. And at times they play together, at times they don't. And so that's in the works. But I think when it's all said and done, I think that Real Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti will find a formula to include. Let's not forget Fede Valverde, who was a tremendous, and he's part of that midfield as well. So I think when all that clicks, I think that back four is healthy. Maybe towards the end of the season, Militao comes back or Thibaut Courtois, although I don't remember now exactly when they're due to come back. Again, I think they have enough there. Kepa, aside from a mistake that he made the other day, has been very, very good, and he's got tons of experience as well. So I think they're fine. And for me, they are at this moment maybe that smidge of all-around experience, just in some key areas, better than Barcelona.
All right. Well, final hot take now. This one comes from Harry Kane, who kind of hinted recently in an interview with ESPN that he's not given up on his dream of becoming a kicker in the NFL. He also kind of suggested maybe a footballer would be the best or the perfect kicker in NFL. Now, Janusz, I'm going to revert to your expertise in NFL football here, because I only know one type of football, and it's definitely not that one. I mean, I know Tom Brady, I guess, Odell Beckham Jr., but what do you think, Janusz, as someone who's played our kind of football and probably fiddled around with the American type of football?
I tell you, I did when I first came here, and I there was a thought of doing that for Cleveland Browns, believe it or not.
Wow.
I'm not making this up, and I can tell you how difficult that is. So it's not easy. I know it's a bit of a fun segment. It's not just obviously, just like in football, our football, it's not just about power, but sometimes you have to caress that a little bit, depending where you're kicking from. But anyway, players like Rodri come to mind, right? I mean, Fede Valverde, I just mentioned him. Did you see that that goal he had the other day? I mean,
hard and far, right? So
he did. Listen, he destroyed.
Goalkeepers have to do that.
He destroyed the ball, but a lot of goalkeepers would probably. And I think we've had some try. I mean, on this part, one of my former teammates, Tony Miola, who's played in Watford in Europe and part of a couple World Cups, he's tried that for the Jets and didn't last long. Not because he couldn't, but it's that difficult, right? He'd be the first one. So Rodri comes to mind, Fede Valverde because of that goal. I mean, a Bruma. I mean, not only distance, but did you see Bruma's goal? Was it just yesterday against Union? I mean, my goodness, that's like 25 yards. And, there was a power to it and direction, and he finessed that just a little bit. So those are just three names that I can think of simply because I was surprised by this segment. And I just remember the games from yesterday. But, obviously, there's some players that could be successful in that, but it's so hard, and it's not as simple as we just look at it and say, well, so and so, he's powerful, he can kick that ball. It's a different ball, huh? And it's a different pressure when you have these big guys coming at you, and you're thinking, whoa, that in itself, I mean, it's formidable.
What about Ederson or Alisson? Little Brazilian. I mean, they can definitely beat a ball, that's for sure.
Good shout, but can they do it when you have those big guys coming at you? And
I feel like Ederson could, because he looks like a feisty scrapper.
So I think 5 decent options. Give us credit for that.
Yeah, pretty decent options. Probably even Roberto Carlos. He could hit the ball.
There you go. Blast
if I were a goalkeeper, I was not trying to save any of Roberto Carlos's shots at goal.
He wouldn't worry about the guys coming at him in terms of blocking it, right? He just cleared it all around them, right? They wouldn't even know where the ball was, and somehow, there it goes.
Amazing stuff there. Well, maybe we'll see it one day. You never know. I suppose there are certain things. You find a lot of footballers, turn into golfers, cricketers as well. I know we've even done a story of certain former Aussie rules footballers that have actually played in the NFL. I think the Jets had one as well. I know Brad Wing. I think he played for the Giants as well. We did an interview there. So little sports crossovers.
If you keep this going, you and I are going to think that we can actually maybe commentate the game of American football, and that's very dangerous. Experts.
Janusz, I lived in the U.S. for 3.5 years, and I only ever went to watch NFL when there was food involved. After that, I could not get it for the life of me, and I'm quite happy with that. I've made my peace with it.
I thought you were going to say beer, because that's where I was.
Well, I wanted to keep it cool for the kids in case any parents are watching. But for food and drink, I was there. Super Bowl parties, I am there. But for the game itself, sorry.
We're of age. We can say it.
Perfect. Thank you as always, Janusz. Absolute pleasure to talk to you as per usual. Thanks to everyone for tuning into this edition of ESPN FC Live. We are definitely back on Friday with, I'm sure, plenty more to talk about after more Champions League action and Europa League action in the coming days. Plus, we'll probably look ahead to what's going to go on the weekend and any more hot takes that we see floating around social media. In the meantime, remember, you can get more ESPN FC. The whole gang will be back tonight for the show. We are on 7 days a week. So don't miss it, and we'll see you again Friday.